And Barry, I'm always surprised whenever I see you in something. I feel like I don't know your real voice, and I love that about you because I feel like your voice changes from character to
You like
character.
my voice today?
Your voice sounds like you, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. But
No, this is a put on Irish accent.
We came from every corner of the country with a common purpose. To bring the war to Hitler's doorstep.
Austin, I would like to start with you. Unlike these guys, you actually had the chance to go back home every day after being on set. Is there a way to kind of like keep that state of mind of danger and rush that you needed to portray this character?
Well, the interesting thing is, it's sort of paralleled what, you know, I don't know, it's hard to say anything parallels at all what they went through, but for me, I was living in London at the time, and they were based there, and they would go on these missions, and then they'd come back, and they would be in London again, and so obviously what they were doing is, uh, you know, you can't even compare how harrowing that was. But for me, I was far away from home, and so I'd say that the similarity was that I ended up looking to Callum and to the other people that I was around, and to kind of create a family over there, because I wasn't actually home when I was filming it, you know. So we really created a brotherhood, and we had these, you know, we'd play cards every Sunday night, and had rituals of community. Yeah.
I'm actually curious about this. Does the script or the kind of story you're telling has anything to say on the way you relate to your co-stars, whether you bond or not, or is it always the same?
You know what's funny actually is that Harry Crosby didn't really like Egan.
Oh,
And so
yeah,
I was
yeah.
always aware of that, and I think Anto was aware of that. Not that Anto and I have nothing but love for each other, but in the performance, you know, you have to put that in. You have to be as true to life as possible. Yeah, I would absolutely say that. I mean, me and you are best friends in the show, and it's like, all right, well, how can we bond as quickly as possible and spend as much time with each other as possible? And that's, I always find that energy, if you can build that, you know, Johnny Egan liked to drink a lot of whiskey, so I drank a lot of whiskey, and that was a fun part of it for sure. But you get that energy for free then, you know, and just to live as freely as possible in that moment. It just, you find the characters that I do anyway, are able to just like embody it and feel it from within. And then you know, I was probably in like the unhealthiest state I've ever been in my life. And I went to do Boys in the Boat after, which is a film about an Olympic rower. And I was like, oh boy. It was literally like, go that way. And but that's the fun part of our job, you know, to answer your question in a long-winded way. Like, we get to go into these worlds or these subcultures and these people and explore, and it's a lovely thing to do.
I have always felt like it's like when you have a bad dream about someone and then you are angry at that someone even though they didn't actually do anything to you.
Oh, yeah.
Is it
There's
like
that
that?
Michelle Williams. I listened to a interview Michelle Williams did about Ryan Gosling, and she was like, I haven't seen him for 5 years because we did this movie together, and it was such a hard
Blue
time.
Valentine.
Blue Valentine, yeah.
Really?
And they just embodied everything, and maybe it wasn't 5 years, maybe it was like 2. I don't know if they're friends now.
These daylight missions. It's so sad.
You know what? It's been such a long time since Band of Brothers and even The Pacific was made, and I wanted to ask you which are the things that Masters of the Air show and that you were able to do with this show that you probably never thought you would be able to do.
I mean, truly in a practical way, get up in the air and be able to visualize 500 planes, smoking, getting shot at, flak, actors within them, understanding the actors and what they're feeling, what they're talking about, and letting the audience hopefully feel that ride also. And I think that's on this one, you know, that's the big part, right?
I want to know what's the secret to actually look like you know what you're doing when you're flying a plane. What kind of skills do you need?
I mean, that's down to everyone around me. I'll say, you know, what I mean, that's all the production and my fellow cast members, and I really mean that when I say that. It's, you know, I don't have a lot to do other than convey the emotion of what these guys were going through. Well, sort of what they were going through. I'm not going to compare and say that I went through what they went through, but to give an essence of it, you know, it's my job. It's it's what I'm there to do, and but it definitely did help having the costumes and the small cockpit and being on a crane, and you know, having Austin beside you as well. And it's just yeah, it was quite not easy, but it helped a lot.
You nailed it.
Oh,
And
thank you.
Raph, I also love your character a lot. And I'm always surprised by how young these people are, but Ken is especially young. Do you think that being that age at that time kind of changed the way he went through it all compared to his maybe mates?
I mean, definitely. I think in the process for me of like reading his book and kind of getting myself into that headspace of really understanding what it would be like at 19 years old to go to a different continent, be responsible for the lives of up to 50 men. And yeah, I think like he speaks about it in his book, and it's definitely was definitely a thing that nowadays, you know, like I was shooting this when I was 23 and my brother was 20, and I was trying to imagine if like my brother had to go through something like that. And it definitely made these young men have to kind of grow up and stand up to the plate. They didn't really have a choice in a lot of ways, and they left behind family members, they left behind aspirations for their lives, and they all kind of had to just rally together, and it was a fight or flight, you know. So it was really inspiring, and kind of interesting to really understand how young they were, you know. And I think that's important in the series, that not only is it full of action and it's tragic and amazing and spectacular, but this is a real story about real lives, you know. Every character in it is
at the end of the day.
kids, yeah. Yeah.
And Barry, I'm always surprised whenever I see you in something. I feel like I don't know your real voice, and I love that about you, because I feel like your voice changes from character to
You
character.
like my voice today?
Your voice sounds like you, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me. But
No, this is a put on Irish accent. No.
I love it. But seriously, I did the exercise the other day of closing my eyes, and I could picture someone entirely different than you know? And I wanted to ask you if that's a process in your acting. Is it important for you to find a character's voice before
Yeah,
you know, creating
definitely.
the-
Finding the voice in the walk, and you know, surrounding yourself with you know, images and music is a big part for me as well. Music and life in general. But you know, surrounding yourself with that, and as I said, production surrounding you with feckin' barracks and an airfield, and B-17s just cruising along the runway, you know, and Captain Dale Doy, you know, people like that, you know, you just have to be in tune with it all, and kind of you've no other choice but to be immersed. Kind of gets you there quick. But going back to the voice, yeah, we did a great accent coach, and again with the mask, you kind of have a license to kind of move your mouth silly because you can't see it, so you can really go for the accent. But yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
I'm looking forward to see the next voice.
We're getting through this, even if the odds are stacked against us.
I can only imagine what kind of conversations went on between someone like you and then Tom Hanks and then Steven Spielberg. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is what you individually and also as a team brought to the table with this story?
Well, I think that, you know, Stephen and Tom and me, we just want to do something that's about something, you know. So we always try to figure out, you know, what's the scene mean, you know, what's it telling us, what's it telling our audience, and where does it take us? And this show has been one where there's a lot of things in it that we feel relate to today and state that our world's in, attitudes that are happening in our world that maybe might be helpful to somebody with an open mind to listen to their history and try to adapt their feelings and understand something that may mean something to them.
I have one last question for you, which is, do you feel like maybe after everything these guys went through, they kind of became numb to what they were seeing at a point?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I think certain I think certain traumas cause you to almost have emotional shock absorbers that come up, you know, to protect, in order to be able to keep a focus and not lose your mind. So, you know, but I do think that there was, from all the stories at least of Clevin that I heard, you know, he remained sensitive after, and he even, you know, everything that he did after the war, and continued to, you know, he was in the Korean War after, and I mean, he just,
Right.
his bravery and that sense of living on the edge carried through through the rest of his life.
I mean, I'd say what the show does really great, and what is true, is that everyone reacted differently. You know, there's different reactions to trauma, there's different reactions to PTSD, and people in the show end up drinking or being numb and kind of shutting off from everybody else. And I think it does a really good job of kind of showing the different results that all of this caused. You know, losing friends and seeing traumatic, horrible things. But I think definitely a lot of people became probably quite numb
I
following
mean, they had no time to kind of grieve. You know, they're on the battlefield, if you want to say that, and it's that's the admiration I have for them, that these lads didn't have a support system, or you know, they had one another to lean on, and in that sense, you're trying to protect yourself and not show weakness either. You know, they want to show a level of confidence, and that, so they never really had time to process, I think, death. You know, it all came in quite quick and gone quick. That's why a lot of them suffered after it, I think. But yeah.
First time in the sawmill, boys. Let's rack 'em up and knock 'em down.